Now for our story. Tonight, just before supper time, the Lane family was gathered in the kitchen of Aunt Mary's farmhouse. A moment earlier, Randy Lane had come in through the back door. When Lefty Larkin asked the young man where he'd been that afternoon, Randy's answer for two of the people present, Lefty and Aunt Mary's niece, Peggy Douglas, had come as a complete shock. A shock which caused them both to stare at Randy with amazed, incredulous eyes. Lefty had said,
Huntsville Sanitarium. What on earth were you doing there?
Dr. Larrabee wanted to talk to me, Lefty.
He
about
what?
Kitt Calvert.
Oh.
He wanted to find out if I could give him some help on Kitt's case.
Oh, but he's crazy. What does he think you can do, Randy?
Now, just a minute, everybody. I suggest we all go in the other room for a few minutes. I'm anxious to hear what Randy has to say, and the rest of you have a right to know, too. Supper can wait.
That's okay with me. Somehow I've lost my appetite.
Now, Lefty, don't start jumping to conclusions. You just wait until you hear what Randy has to say.
That's right, Lefty. It's not so bad as it sounds. Come on, Peg. Mom, you sure dinner will be all right? I'm hungry as a wolf.
Everything's under control, Randy. Come on, everybody.
Lefty, I wish you'd stop looking as if you'd just been stabbed.
Well, I think I know how Lefty feels, Randy. It gives me a funny feeling, too. The idea of you being called in to try to help Kitt.
Peggy, dear, if I were you, I'd reserve judgment until Randy explains the circumstances.
You seem to know all about this, Aunt Mary. I notice you're the only one of us who isn't surprised.
That's true, Lefty. You see, I've been over to the sanitarium myself.
You have?
Mm-hmm. I had a long talk with Dr. Larrabee, and he explained what the basis of Kitt's trouble seems to be.
But why should this family let itself get involved with the Calverts again? Just out of a blue sky with no reason.
That's it, though, Lefty. We are involved to a certain extent, whether we want to be or not.
I don't see why. All we have to do is mind our own business.
That's how I felt, until I thought it over. You'll understand better in a minute, Lefty. Mom, do you want to tell it, or shall I?
No, you go ahead, son. I want to know what happened this afternoon when you spoke to the doctor.
Okay. But first I'd better bring Lefty and Peggy up to date. I'll boil it down as much as I can, but it's sort of complicated.
We're listening, Randy.
Well, here's the idea. A long time ago, when we were kids, there was a short time when Kitt and I were pretty good friends.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
I didn't talk about it much, for several reasons. One was that Ben Calvert was dead set against our friendship. That old resentment and hatred he's always felt for us, you know. Well, it was just as strong then as it is now, so Ben gave me the bum's rush.
Well, were you especially good friends, Randy?
No, not especially, Peg. I felt awfully sorry for her. She was an unhappy little kid. Nobody else wanted to have much to do with her, so I kind of took over. But anyway, Ben finally sent her away to school. So, as far as I was concerned, that was that.
What's all this got to do with the present?
I'm coming to that, Lefty. Now, this part's a little tough to put across to you because it has to do with psychiatry and such, and, well, I don't know much about it. At any rate, it seems that Kitt was very hurt when Ben broke up our friendship. And one of the protections people have when they've been hurt is to deliberately try to forget what hurt them. That is, consciously forget. They sort of press the unpleasant thoughts back into their unconscious minds.
And that's what Kitt did, Randy? She forgot about it?
That's right, Peg. You see, Dr. Larrabee says she blotted it out entirely, at the time, from her conscious mind. And then, when she became ill, the memory of this early hurt came to the surface, sort of from the subconscious to the conscious mind. She began to suffer from a terrible sense of loss. But the strange thing is, she's never been able to remember who this boy was, the one she knew when she was a child.
You mean she doesn't know it was you, Randy?
Not yet.
Wait a minute. Not yet. You mean you're going to tell her?
Well, Lefty, when I went over there today, I hadn't entirely made up my mind. Mom had sketched the thing out for me, roughly, and I had a pretty good idea of the setup. But all I could remember was all the mean things Kitt did. The way she hurt Peggy and all.
Oh, that's all over now, Randy.
It may not be, Peg. If Randy's going to let himself get tangled up with the Calverts, you can't tell what'll happen.
I don't have to be tangled up with them, Lefty. It's really just a question of lending myself to an experiment.
What kind of experiment, Randy? What does the doctor want you to do?
Well, you see, Peg, the thing which seems to bother Kitt is this sense of loss. The fact that she's built up a symbol around her memory of me when I was a kid. Larrabee wants to see what would happen if she saw me. If she were told I'm the one she's been trying to remember.
I see.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I can see trouble just as sure as anything. Randy going over there trying to help that girl, why, almost anything can happen. Look at the grief she's caused. Look what happened to Bill. Honestly, Aunt Mary, I'm surprised you're willing to let your son walk right into a setup like that.
Well, Lefty, this is a very serious situation. It might even be a matter of Kitt's sanity. It might be the difference between her being restored to a normal, healthy life or never recovering. But, of course, the decision is up to Randy.
The whole trouble is this pipe dream of yours and David Bowman's. You're both such eternal optimists. How can you believe Kitt Calvert is ever going to change? Well, suppose Randy does go over there, and she does get cured. That doesn't mean she's going to turn into a saint all of a sudden.
She might become a useful, happy person, Lefty. Don't you think that's possible?
The leopard doesn't change his spots, Aunt Mary. Oh, I know you always want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But this time I think you're making a great mistake. And Randy, after the way Kitt treated Peggy, for you to knock yourself out trying to help her, well, it just doesn't seem right. Why, it's almost being disloyal to Peggy.
I think Peggy understands it wouldn't mean disloyalty on my part. Don't you, Peg?
Yes, Randy. But somehow it does make me uneasy.
Why, Peggy?
Well, it does seem as if every time any one of us has anything to do with the Calverts, we get into a lot of trouble. I mean, well, naturally, I'd like Kitt to get well and all that. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, being cooped up in some hospital all the time. But
I know you wouldn't, dear. I counted on it.
But on the other hand, Aunt Mary, I dread having Randy get mixed up with Kitt. Maybe I'm superstitious or something, but I've just about decided she's bad luck to this family.
You're darn right she is. Randy will start going over there trying to help her, and the first thing you know, she'll get her hooks into him. Or he'll be spending all his time over there, acting like a male nurse or something.
Boy, what an imagination.
Well, you watch. Once she knows she's getting attention, she'll want more and more. After all, it seems to me that's her doctor's job. He's the one who's supposed to cure her, not you, Randy.
Look, Lefty, Larrabee doesn't intend for me to spend my life over there. This is just a question of seeing Kitt once, to see if it'll help her recall this period she's forgotten.
Yeah, that's his story.
Randy, I think Lefty might be right in a way. I doubt if Dr. Larrabee can be sure just how the experiment might work out. Might be, once Kitt did make the tie-up between you as you are now and the boy she remembers, that it would be harmful to her not to see you again.
You mean the doctor might want me to make a habit of going over to visit her?
I can't be sure. But it seems to me you might have to make more than one visit.
Yeah. I never thought of that, Mom.
Then perhaps you better, son, before you make up your mind. Remember, Kitt's mental welfare would be your responsibility once she knows that you're the person who means security and safety to her.
Yeah. Well, a guy can't just walk away from a situation like that. A person's whole future might be affected.
No, Randy. Not if you have a sense of responsibility to your fellow human being.
But on the other hand, Mom, I wouldn't want to get involved in this over any length of time. Lefty may go overboard in his distaste for the Calverts, but to tell the truth, I feel very much the way he does. The only thing is, I don't think there's anything to worry about just because I go visit the girl once or twice.
Nevertheless, Randy, if you have any such reservations, you better think it over very carefully before you decide. You can't back out of it once you get started.
Aunt Mary is right. She knows how important Randy may be to Kitt's eventual rehabilitation. And knowing this, Mary Lane hopes with all her heart that her son will decide to help the daughter of her old enemy, Ben Calvert. But, Aunt Mary, if you knew how deeply your son Randy might become involved, I wonder if you would still wish him to go ahead.